How can a department supervisor with 6 years of perfect performance suddenly be rendered invisible just because of one VIP customer's discomfort? This true story, which took place behind the gleaming windows of Prestige Plaza, reveals how discrimination becomes normalized even in one of America's most prestigious shopping centers. If you have had a similar experience, please send your story to the email address provided in the description.
When the alarm went off at 6 in the morning, I didn't know that day would change my life. I was about to enter my 6th year at the Prestige Plaza store on the 2nd floor of North Park Center in the heart of Dallas, Texas. 6 years. For 6 long years, I had arrived 15 minutes early to every shift, smiled at every customer, exceeded every sales target, and finally risen to the supervisor position in the women's clothing department. I was 29 years old and my dream was clear: to become store manager within a year. Everything was going according to plan, until that Tuesday morning came. When I entered the store, the Texas November sun was filtering through the massive display windows, creating bright patterns on the store's white marble floors. Prestige Plaza's women's clothing department was the most prestigious area of the store, with its high ceilings, illuminated by crystal chandeliers, fitting rooms furnished with dark gray velvet chairs, and custom-designed wardrobes. It resembled an art gallery. This wasn't just a retail store. It was a place where Dallas's elite women felt special. That morning, my entire team was present. The 4 sales associates working under me: Emily, 22 years old, with long blonde hair always pulled back in a perfect ponytail, blue-eyed, and an energetic young college student, Rachel, 35 years old, with short black hair, brown eyes, a mother of 2, and an experienced sales expert with 7 years of experience. The newly joined Melissa, 26 years old, with red hair, freckles, green eyes, and a very pronounced Southern accent, a Texas native, and Jessica, 40 years old, wearing her gray hair in a chic bob cut, with dark brown eyes, elegant and patient consultant. At 9:30, we completed our opening procedures. I opened the register systems. Each of their cash drawers started with the correct amounts. I checked our visual merchandising displays. We had placed the new season Michael Kors collection in the window. Each fitting room had 5 velvet hangers, a full-length mirror, soft-lit wall sconces, and an upholstered ottoman for customers to sit on. Everything was in its place. It was around 2 in the afternoon. The store was moderately crowded. While I was checking the price tags on newly arrived theory pants, Emily was organizing near the fitting rooms. Rachel was at the register. Melissa was bringing newly arrived Ralph Lauren blouses from the stockroom. Jessica was talking with a customer about Calvin Klein skirt suit sets. Just then, a woman entered through the store entrance. I recognized her as soon as I saw her. Mrs. Patricia Whitmore, about 65 years old, with platinum blonde hair cascading in waves over her shoulders, blue-eyed, thin-lipped, with high cheekbones. She lived in one of Highland Park's wealthiest neighborhoods. Her black Chanel bag, Cartier watch, Jimmy Choo shoes, and the St. John suit she wore immediately caught attention. Her name was on Prestige Plaza's VIP customer list. Her monthly shopping average exceeded $5,000. Mrs. Whitmore walked straight toward me. Her face bore its usual cold expression. Her eyes were scanning the store, as if looking for flaws. I immediately approached her, kept my shoulders straight, greeted her with my professional smile. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Whitmore. How may I help you?" I asked. My words were polite and sincere, just as I had done for 6 years. The woman looked me up and down. Something flashed in her eyes for a moment, an expression I couldn't identify. Then she pursed her lips and said, "I need to ask you something." Her voice was cold and distant. "Are there other sales associates in your store?" A strange feeling arose within me, but I tried to maintain my professional expression. "Of course, Mrs. Whitmore, we have other associates," I said. "I can bring one of my team members to help you. What specifically do you need help with?" The woman took a step back, as if she wanted to build an invisible wall between us. No, she said. Her voice had hardened a bit. "What I mean is, do you have American associates here?" That word hung in the air. American. The way she said the word, the emphasis, the implication in her tone said everything. My heart began to beat rapidly in my chest. There was a burning sensation on my face, but I tried to maintain my expression. Holding my breath, Mrs. Whitmore, I'm the department supervisor who has worked here for 6 years, I said. I can provide you with the best service. A look resembling disgust appeared on the woman's face. No, she said. Her voice was louder now. I want to work with someone else. Don't you understand this? I don't want to shop with someone like you. Time seemed to stop around us. 2 customers standing by the racks nearby looked toward us. Emily had frozen by the fitting rooms, a shocked expression on her face. Eyes from all over the store had turned toward us. My tongue was stuck to the roof of my mouth. I didn't know what to say. In my 6-year career, I had never encountered anything like this. Such scenarios had been shown in training videos, but experiencing it in reality was completely different. Mrs. Whitmore, I said. My voice was trembling. All our employees here are professional and experienced. We'll do our best to give you the best service. The woman slung her bag over her shoulder. Her hand was clenched on the bag's handle. Fine, then call your store manager, she said. She was giving orders with her voice. I want to speak with him. Just then, store manager Robert Henderson came out from the back of the store. He was 42 years old, medium height, slightly overweight, with brown hair combed back, wearing a gray suit. He had been working as store manager at Prestige Plaza for 3 years. Seeing the situation, he immediately came to us. Mrs. Whitmore, he said. His voice was like honey. How are you? How can we help you? The woman pointed her finger at me, as if I weren't there. I don't want service from this person, she said. Someone else. A momentary confusion appeared on Robert's face, but he quickly recovered, without turning to me, without taking his eyes off Mrs. Whitmore. Of course, Mrs. Whitmore, he said. Diana, why don't you call Jessica? There was ringing in my ears. My face was burning. My hands and feet were ice cold. Robert wasn't even looking at me, as if I wasn't there. As if this woman's blatant discrimination was like a normal customer preference. But Mr. Henderson, I said, my voice was hoarse. I can help Mrs. Whitmore. I'm the department supervisor. Robert finally turned to me. There was hardness in his eyes. Diana, he said. His voice was low but commanding. Call Jessica now. I walked with heavy steps toward Jessica. There was a lump in my throat. Jessica, look. Mrs. Whitmore wants to work with you, I said. My voice came out mechanical. Jessica looked at me with puzzled eyes, then at Mrs. Whitmore, then at Robert. But Diana, you, she said. Please, Jessica, I said. Go. Jessica slowly walked toward Mrs. Whitmore. The woman smiled as if she had won a victory. Then, turning to Jessica, now that's better, she said. I want to tell you about a beautiful St. John jacket I saw. I just stood there. Store manager Robert turned his back and went to his office, as if nothing had happened. My team was looking at me in shock. Customers were whispering, and I felt my 6-year flawless career, all my sales records, all my awards, all my efforts dragging on the ground at that moment. The rest of the shift turned into a nightmare. Every passing minute was endless. Mrs. Whitmore walked around the store with Jessica for 2 hours, shopped for $5,000 worth of merchandise, and told Robert on her way out how excellent the service was. Jessica, meanwhile, couldn't even make eye contact with me. Her face was bright red from shame. When the shift ended, Robert called me to his office. I sat down, my hands trembling on my knees. Diana, he said, as if lecturing a child. The customer is always right. Mrs. Whitmore is our VIP customer. If she wants to work with someone else, we need to accommodate her. That's the rule of this business. But Mr. Henderson, I said, my voice cracked. That woman discriminated against me. She clearly targeted my ethnicity. Robert slammed his hand on the desk. Diana, this is a customer preference, not discrimination, he said. And if you question this again, I'll have to review your position. Understood. That day when I left Prestige Plaza, I merged into Dallas's evening traffic. Sitting among the locked cars on North Central Expressway, my tears began to flow suddenly. 6 years. 6 years of effort, dedication, performance. and it meant nothing in the face of one VIP customer's discomfort. The next day, I wrote a formal complaint to the Human Resources Department. 2 weeks later, I received a response. Customer preferences are evaluated within the framework of our company policies, and Mrs. Whitmore's request does not constitute a policy violation. 3 months later, I applied for the store manager position. My application was rejected. No reason was given. But the real devastation happened in the weeks following that incident. Every morning when I went to the store, I would pause for a moment when looking inside through the window. That bright marble floor, crystal chandeliers, perfectly arranged dresses now looked different to me, as if it were a theater stage and I was just a piece of scenery. My relationship with my team also changed. Emily now avoided making eye contact with me, as if even remembering that day caused her pain. Rachel tried to be warmer with me than before, but this overly kind attitude made me feel even worse. Jessica never talked about working with Mrs. Whitmore after that day, as if an invisible wall of shame had been built between us. The worst was my interactions with other VIP customers. Mrs. Catherine Morrison, about 60 years old, with silver hair, an elegant woman, came to the store a week later, saw me, and suddenly asked for Jessica. She gave no explanation, just said she wanted to work with Jessica. Then Mrs. Eleanor Banks came. She did the same thing. And then Mrs. Dorothy Richardson. As if there was an agreement among them, all the VIP customers started avoiding me. Robert said nothing, but I could see the expression in his eyes. Every time a VIP customer bypassed me and asked for someone else, he looked at me in such a way that it was as if I was a problem that needed to be solved. Once he approached me and said, "Diana, maybe you'd be happier in a floor sales position." In other words, after 6 years, he was suggesting demoting me from department supervisor to a simple sales associate. My commissions began to drop. The commission system at Prestige Plaza was simple. The more sales you make, the more money you earn. VIP customers spent an average of $5,000. Regular customers spent between $300 and $500. I could now only work with regular customers. My monthly income dropped by 1/3. I began to struggle to pay my car loan. This income loss was a major blow in Dallas's expensive cost of living. One night, sitting in my small apartment in the Lake Highlands neighborhood, I called my mother. She lived in Los Angeles. She and my father had immigrated to America from South Korea 30 years ago. I told her what happened, my voice trembling. After a long silence, my mother said, "Daughter, it will always be like this for us in America. You just have to be better, work harder, don't give them a chance to say anything." But I had been the best for 6 years. How could I be any better? At the end of the month, my annual performance review was conducted. As I sat across from Robert, my eyes froze on the documents in my hand. My customer satisfaction score appeared to have decreased. But how could that be? I was still the same Diana, working with the same professionalism. Robert explained to me, since VIP customers no longer wanted to work with me, they thought my customer relations score was low. In other words, the discrimination I faced had been recorded as my failure. I still work at Prestige Plaza now. I'm still the same department supervisor, but now only in name. In reality, I'm an invisible employee. Every time Mrs. Whitmore enters the store, I automatically step back. Every time a new VIP customer comes, I direct them to someone else. And management finds this not only normal, but correct. Because the customer is always right. Isn't that so?
Diana's story is just one example of the systemic discrimination that exists even in America's most prestigious shopping centers. 6 years of flawless performance meant nothing in the face of one VIP customer's discomfort. What about your story? Have you faced similar discrimination in your workplace? Did your manager side with the customer instead of protecting you? Send your stories to our email address in the description. Perhaps your story will be told in the next video.